33 minutes past the hour. It is the Jeff Santos show. What has been a long week with all the travesty of this past week with Venezuela. And of course, yesterday, last 48 hours about what happened to Miss Good. And as Alan Grayson said, it's not a good day in America. And, you know, it's so sad that this is how people will look at America. And I mentioned to Kevin, to get his thoughts, Kevin Paul DuPont, as we go to the Olympics in early February. I think it starts around the 10th or so. About 3 weeks, the NHL shuts down, and, they're going to be Americans and Swedes and Finns and the Czechs, and of course, Canada. I believe the Russians can participate. I'm not sure on that if there's a ban from the IOC, but and of course the Americans. And we're not presenting the best. I mean, we're presenting the best athletes, who were, fantastic. But the leader, people are going to look and say, the United States of Trump. So this is how it becomes, an embarrassment. What is he going to do? Go over to Italy and build a rink? Charge Italy for it? It's just so beneath the American spirit. And this is how it goes into the world of sports, the world of entertainment. He took over the Kennedy Center at Trump Dome or whatever. And this is how he's going to play it. And he's got a lot of athletes are, bamboozled, or they just want to make the money themselves and go along with it in some sports. But this is where we are, and it has to change, and it has to change as soon as possible, because this is out of control in so many ways. Whether we're talking about civil liberties and the ICE Gestapo groups, or whether talking about what happened, as Greg Palast talked about, this was all basically a deflection because of the Epstein stuff. It's about oil, putting money in his pocket. It's not about helping the people in Venezuela. It's not about helping Americans with lower, oil prices. Come on now. As most Wall Street insiders who were meeting with the president today, or I should say oil executives who were meeting with him, those are also part of the Wall Street world. This is going to take many, many years because, as Greg Palast pointed out, it was a older levels that Maduro had that he inherited from Chavez. And now we have a situation where we have a decrepit system. Now, seemingly this Ms. Rodriguez, who Greg Palast has interviewed and knows a little bit, seems to be qualified. But is she going to have her hands tied by Trump and the Singer guy who's tied to the Secretary of State Rubio? I mean, what is this? So there's all of these things that are really percolating here, and none of it benefits the American middle class, working class person who's spending $14 for a Dunkin' Donuts pound of coffee when it used to be $7. So we're having some issues getting a hold of Mark Taylor-Canfield here. I'm going to open up the phone lines at 833-545-5333. And hopefully we can get Mark there. There is communication, Jalen, that he is, getting to his computer. I'm thinking he was in a meeting of sorts. So if he can try him again, hopefully we can get Mark, to the video screen. So hopefully that is the case. Just to add one more thing here. One of the things that we're going to be watching over the next couple of weeks here is, again, how the Democrats, mobilize around where people are. I mentioned the Olympics for another reason too. This is something that's going to galvanize a lot of people, a lot of men, and women too, But sports is a big part of this. This weekend is going to be a big deal. I would like to see if the Democrats, whether it's the DCCC level or the DNC or whatever, they should be running ads. They should be talking about the fact that this man is an embarrassment. You have to be able to communicate that message where people are. And a credit to the Republicans over the years. I mean, in the World Series in 2022, they were running against Biden, and they were running, the people are coming. They showed the same video over and over again of 100 people running across the border. I don't know where the tape was. They lie all the time anyways, Republicans, but that's what they do. And of course, that narrative gets into the minds of sports fans who are, having a couple of beers, not necessarily, oh, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. So that's what happens. That's why it's important for Democrats to take advantage of this in this football weekend, as well as all the way up to the Super Bowl, and then of course the Olympics. It goes back to back. Just be smart, guys. All right, I think we've reached Mark Taylor-Canfield, of course, the Renaissance man of the Jeff Santos Show. He is, of course, the executive director of Democracy Watch News. Fantastic musician, and of course, the Renaissance man. MTC, good to have you, my friend. I know this is a somber week with what has happened in Minnesota. So, I understand if you don't have the music that you may want to play in normal days, but, I wouldn't mind it either because it's always great to have that intro for MTC. Your call, my friend, however you want to do it. I love it.
I do have a new guitar,
I love it.
Jeff. Check this out. This is a custom-made guitar invented by my friend Will, who's kind of an impresario here. He puts on a lot of house parties and rock and roll concerts, festivals, and this is something he built, and I love it.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's
What's the last name?
What
is it going to be? What's it going to be called?
What is this going to be called? The guitar?
Yeah, the guitar is going to have a name like the Fender. I mean, what is this dude's name? Or what is he going to call it?
This guitar?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. I'll try. I'll think about that. I hadn't really decided it.
I'll be his marketing
I'm sure
guy.
they have. Yeah, but it's a one of a kind. I mean, it's a custom guitar that he built basically, and then Reanimated Music, which is the reanimated trading musician here in Seattle, the best. I kept bugging them for 2 months. Every day I'd go, well, not every day, but every week I would go in and say, "Hey, is that guitar ready?" And they're like, "Well, we're still working on it." I'm like, "Well, when is it going to be ready?" "Well, we're still working on it." And finally, the last time I went in, just after the New Year, I just put some money down on the counter and I said, "Look, I want that guitar, okay?" And they said, "You deserve to have this guitar. You should have this guitar." So I did finally get it, and it plays like a dream. It just has that amazing rock sound. I don't know how well you can hear it.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
I feel like I could play Nirvana, Soundgarden, House, change anything on the guitar. It's got the sound I've been looking for, which is kind of that Billy Gibbons, ZZ Top, crunchy electric guitar sound. That's my favorite.
It's a Cascadian
So how are you
sound.
doing, Jeff? How were your holidays? How are you doing?
Crazy. Yeah, it's great to see you, man. Happy New Year. Well, I mean, obviously back from vacation, which was good. It was actually too short. Still have a lot of things to do. But nonetheless, it was good stuff. Hey, this is an awful week in American history. First, the Venezuela thing over the weekend, and of course, what happened was good over the last 48 hours. I just think, we were talking with Kevin Paul DuPont just before you, Greg Palast before him. I mean, the world, it looks at us, as obviously they look at us with disgust. I mean, why wouldn't you? And, I mean, I got the American flag. I'm very proud to be an American, but I look at where we are right now, and, who wants to be friends with a bully, who kills his own people and goes in and takes over other countries and kills 100 people there. And, it's no big deal. Another day. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I keep wishing everybody Happy New Year, despite the crazy man in the White House. That's what I put as a caveat to all.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, because I mean, the more and more I look at it, I know Greg has the background on what's going on with Rubio and his billionaire friend trying to get the oil, but part of it, there is this American hegemony kind of thing that's been going on for a long time, or U.S. hegemony, where we want to control all the oil, and we are the big bad boy on the block. But there's also an element of this that just keeps coming back to me that the guy's kind of. I mean, one thing that would explain a lot of this is he is suffering from dementia because
Oh,
I'm
there's no
hearing
doubt.
him say things.
Mentally ill. No, we talked
Watching
about
him
this
do things
yesterday
that,
with Jim Roosevelt.
you
Yeah.
know, it's not good. So I hope that everyone who didn't show up to vote last time learned their lesson. Back in the early 20th century, we had
November
80%
26th.
voter turnout. Yeah, when was the last time we had 80% voter turnout? So even if you didn't vote for the guy, the fact that you didn't show up at the polls, you're going to have to take some responsibility for that. And in this coming year, you better show up at the polls. I mean, there is some hope. By the way, I loved your segments with Herb Boyd and Greg Palast. Very good guests. I always love your guests, and so that's great. I've been in the recording studio. That's kind of my focus right now, is recording on my songs. So I've been working really heavily for doing all night sessions and coming home at 5 o'clock in the morning after recording all night. Just this is why I'm half asleep today, but which is, been good for me psychologically, I think, during this period, because when I woke up to the press briefing last weekend, with Trump, telling everybody that he just kidnapped Maduro. I mean, I thought I was living in another world again, but that happens over and over with this guy. So I guess none of us should be surprised. I do have that article, I think I'm going to upload today on social media, that I wrote on April Fool's Day last year about his plans to invade Alpha Centauri, which I would not put past him at this point. I mean, he does have his space command, So, I mean, it's been crazy. And all I can tell people is hang on for better times. And we got to have faith. We got to have hope. We got to stick together. We need solidarity for sure. Programs like yours, people like Greg Palast and other folks that I work with, we all need to be very clear. Democracy Watch News, we all need to be very clear about what's going on. Don't mince words. Don't pretend that you don't realize what's happening. Just be straightforward about it. And if he comes after your news organization, well, that's part of the price you pay to be a journalist. I just saw a movie, a great movie. I highly recommend it, with Cate Blanchett and Robert Redford, called Truth. And it's about what happened to Dan Rather when he was reporting on George W. Bush going AWOL from the National Guard.
Yes.
They ended up firing Mary Mape, and then they also, and then Rather, who I looked up to as an icon, and I've taken a journalism course from him, he stepped down. So that's what happens. And it seems like the scenario is also continuing with some of the major media in this country who are backing down and giving in. We saw what happened with 60 Minutes on the prison.
And the whole El Salvador thing.
El Salvador. So disappointing for me as a journalist to see that, knowing that we're already ranked 57th in the world in terms of press freedom on the World Press Freedom Index. What do you think it's going to look like next year, Jeff? It's going to be terrible.
Over 100.
I'm going to be
tell you that. I mean, it's an embarrassment. The America of today is an embarrassment. Embarrassment to the world. Embarrassment to people who fought for it. And it has to change. And I think the question is now, how do Democrats make that implement change? Can they get a couple of members of House? Republican, Massey, Bacon, that they've worked with in the past, get them to be Democrats, make the Speaker Jeffries, and move forward, incrementally, then win back the Senate and add on to the House in November. I mean, they have to have a strategy, and they got to be out there, and they got to be utilizing the energy that Mondani had in New York City and your new mayor in Seattle, and at the same time work around the largest governor of the largest state in the country, in Gavin Newsom. And together, we have something. You have a progressive, agenda that, brings the idea of single-payer health care. We had a congressman on from Massachusetts, a former Clinton guy, in Jim McGovern, and he talked about the idea for single-payer, and sick and tired of all this nonsense. The same thing with education. Gavin Newsom's predecessor was Jerry Brown. His father was the one that gave Californians a free university. Now, you know what it costs to go to Berkeley, Mark? According to our good friend Alan Minsky, who lives in California, grew up in San Francisco, $48,000 a year to go to a state school, a very good one, but it's still a public university. That means that Stanford is over 100,000. I can imagine Harvard probably is too, or close to it. This is insane. And
Yeah, only elite wealthy
too
people are
many
going to be able
people
to
are like,
afford.
oh, well, that's just the way it is.
No, education. I mean, I sang that song over the holidays, the 12 days of Christmas, about affordable, free press for the people, good affordable health care, free college education. I mean, there are these issues that we've been talking about for years and that are on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
agendas of people like Mamdani and here Katie Wilson, our new Democratic Socialist mayor. And I do want to
Go,
talk
Katie,
about
go.
her for a second. Yeah, but they are not on the national level. So I have people telling me, well, tell Katie to stop this or stop that. I'm like, well, she's a mayor. What can Jacob Frey do except try to kick, ICE out of Minneapolis? He's not a governor even. He's not a mayor. He's a mayor. He has local jurisdiction. Yeah, he can make those phone calls to the governor. He can make those phone calls to the White House, but he does not have the power that supposedly our legislators in the U.S. Congress are supposed to have. I'm hoping that Reuters next, what was a breaking news group there is right when they say that the Democrats may flip the House before the general election next year.
Yeah.
That would be
Well, they
a big
could.
step
Like
forward.
those two guys could
Mark
potentially
Kelly
go.
was talking
Bacon.
about that. Yeah, Mark Kelly was talking about that when he was on with Jon Stewart the other day, which is an amazing segment. People should definitely check that out. But this is going on left and right. And here I am, while I'm on the phone with you, I'm getting a text message from someone who's very dear to me and my friends. And she got interrogated by ICE for 2 hours and was treated like a criminal. And I'm just, it's so
Jesus.
gut wrenching, to be trying to do the right thing and see all these people in our government and in these agencies doing the wrong thing. I mean, somehow we got to come around from all of this. And I think that Katie Wilson is one example of a grassroots political campaign that can actually beat the big money people, which she did, and maybe change things. I went to her inauguration ceremony. It was very unusual. It was not a traditional swearing in ceremony. She was sworn in by a woman that people call the transit fairy, who's this elderly woman who has been really outspoken about advocating for transit on the county and city level for years. One of the main speakers was a representative from the Nicholsville homeless camp here in Seattle. So Katie is stepping outside of the typical Google, Microsoft, Boeing crowd and going for grassroots organizing. I'm glad to see
I
that.
love
I'm
it.
also glad to see that she kind of split her administration in two ways, Jeff. So her first appointments were more people who are very experienced about how City Hall works, but she thinks she can work as allies. In other words, they have the experience that maybe she doesn't. Very smart move. That other half of her staff, all newbies, all people that have never been to City Hall before. They've never worked except for as an activist in NGOs and nonprofit groups. So I think that's going to be an interesting combination. You got the folks who know how to get things done and know how City Hall works. And then you also have a new group of very idealistic people who are not going to stand for the past, compromises on things like housing and affordability in the city. I mean, people are fed up with it. It's time. I don't care how, many jobs Google and Boeing is providing here. If you can't afford to live here, what's the point?
Well,
And that's kind of
exactly.
where we're at
I mean,
right now.
you're kicking people out that, that make a difference in the art community, in music. Look, I gotta tell you, our friend Bruce Springsteen is out there, stating the facts. And I look at him, as sort of, Woody Guthrie of our time now. And, you know, when he comes out and he criticizes Trump, that's the art community, that's the music community, that's the people who care about community. Don't forget, as you know, he's done a lot of things with the job food banks across America. I mean, I remember going to his concerts just a few years ago, and he would always, give out the address, email address, whatever, website address, of the food banks in the region wherever he was. In this case, Boston. To me, he cares. And you get another guy who basically just gives you the middle finger all the time, who happens to be the occupant in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But you're in the world of music, and you're fantastic at it. And at the same time, you're an activist, which is why we call you the Renaissance Man of the Jeff Santos Show. And the fact is that you know when when you get people like Trump and others in his Gestapo world, you put a damper on what is, the blooming flowers of Bruce Springsteen or of Eddie Vedder, that the Seattle knows very well. All the great artists around this country, and he basically spits out at them. It's disgusting, and this is what we need to take back. That's what America's about. It's not about wealthy people and how many cars they have and how many homes they have and lifestyles of the rich and famous as it was in the 1980s. Who cares? Tax the
Yeah.
1% is what I say.
I suggest that people read Mary Mapes' memoir called Truth and Duty, because we have a duty to speak the truth, whether you're in the military, as Mark Kelly was trying to point out. And by the way, after 25 years, they're trying to take away his pension and his rank, but he's going to fight that all the way. Oh, by the way, Punky back there wanted to say Happy New Year to you.
Oh.
We had a
how you doing, Punky? Happy New Year to you.
There she is. Yeah, we had a good time up on my friend's penthouse during the fireworks off the Space Needle, although we couldn't see them because it was too foggy here. But we had a good time up there.
Wow.
He's not a super wealthy person, but he does have a really nice apartment up above the city on the top of that tower. And then, we spent a lot of time at the Seattle Center, and people were really celebrating and enjoying the lifestyle here in Seattle. Great fireworks, great music. There were bands playing, DJs were projecting light shows on the International Fountain. And I can see that people in Seattle really enjoy living here, really enjoy our culture, and are glad to be here. But when you look at what's happening in a lot of the rest of the country and what's happening in Washington, D.C., it really makes people nervous, and they start to wonder about the future of our country. I can tell you this. We watched the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Awards, and Soundgarden was inducted. So we've got multiple bands from Seattle. Most of the grunge bands have now been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Soundgarden got their chance. And I was really impressed, Jeff, for two reasons. One, I'm really tired of all the bling and the glitz that goes with Hollywood award shows and all the, people with gold teeth and, huge outfits.
It's just annoying.
Cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I like the fact that Seattle is still very authentic in that we don't try to oversell things. We don't try to hype things. We just do it. And Soundgarden gets up there looking like anybody else in T-shirts and blue jeans and does their thing. And then their bass player, Yamamoto, who is Japanese American, told the crowd, he was the first person to accept the award. And he said, my mother was interred during World War II because she was Japanese. I'd hoped we had gotten beyond that. And he gave a big shout out to his Black and brown brothers and sisters around the world and said, we hear you, we're here for you, and we're not gonna give up. We're gonna keep fighting for our rights. So I really appreciated the fact that a Seattle band went on stage, said something political, and got people riled up, because that's part of our job, I think, up here in Seattle, is to forget about all the Hollywood glam and glitz and just do what we love to do and be authentic about it to the rest of the world. And if we keep doing that, there's going to be more bands inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But you'll notice that the bands that are here don't, like I said, don't overhype themselves. They don't drive around in Lamborghinis to show off their wealth. None of that is happening here. The people in Seattle are very much on the down low in that regard. And I really appreciate that. We are so happy. We feel special because we get to go see local bands at local clubs that nobody in LA or New York is ever going to hear about, but are fantastic. We don't care about the band playing
including you, my
Pledge
friend.
Arena that's got, millions of dollars behind them. We care about the band that is playing in our local club, the Showbox or the Crocodile that has, day jobs working as baristas or whatever. Those are the people that we actually admire the most, because it's not easy to do that. So I'm glad that Seattle stood up during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremonies, and creds to Soundgarden. Brandi Carlile, our other local talent, sang Black Hole Sun, and she rocked. Oh my God, she sounded so great. So I guess now she's gone from being a folk artist to being a country artist, because she was also on the Country and Western Awards show out of Nashville a few months ago, and also now a rock and roll artist. So I really admire the fact that she can cover so many different genres. That's very innovative in itself, that you can branch out that way and not, find yourself really labeled into one kind of music or another. So great job, Brandi. They sounded great on stage. They're playing all the old Marshall Stack equipment that we use, amps and stuff. So cool to see that. And I was very excited. So There are some good things going on.
No doubt about it. Hey man,
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks for being you, and you're part of that local music scene in Seattle too, and you're fantastic. Hey, these are difficult days, but I know you and your friends are going to make it better for us. I got to run right now, my friend, but thank you, and I love that new guitar too.
Yes, I'll play more next time. All right, Jeff. Love you. Take
Exactly.
care.
Thank you, Mark. All the best, my
Okay.
friend. Hey, I want to thank Jalen for producing an amazing show. We had so many interruptions today with the feed from Greg Palace in Portugal and all that. Did a fantastic job all week long. And we look forward to having her back in the coming days. Folks, this is a tough week, but, when the tough get going, you get going. So, I screwed that up. But anyways, you know what I mean. The fact is that we need to stay together. We will. Back on Monday, GW and all that. Keep on fighting, folks, peacefully. Have a wonderful weekend. My name is Jeff Santos, and right now it's my time to say I gotta go.